Hannah may be a big rock star,
I'm a pop star!
but she's still just a little sister.
Miley, what's wrong? You saw your yearbook picture?
No, I'm living. What's wrong with my yearbook picture?
It's official, guys. We went over the first 10 episodes of Hannah Montana Season 2, then we went over the second episodes of Hannah Montana Season 2, and now it is time for the final 10 episodes of just specifically Season 2. Yeah, there was 30 episodes in the second season of Hannah Montana. Whether you think that's qualified as an offensive remark or not, that's just the reality of the world we're living. I went over this season a lot, and to be honest, I'm growing very tired of it. I swear, the season went on for like 5 years, but I'm finally ready to put it to rest. If you haven't seen my video already on the final episode, it's a doozy, but if you haven't, just stick around because we're going to talk about it again. Hannah Montana goes places that you never have expected her to go in the first season and never really wanted her to go by the end of this season. As we gear up toward the third season in the movie, when things get really crazy, we definitely notice a really awkward era for Hannah Montana in this year. You'll be surprised with how many episodes in this specific quadrant you will not remember, but have lived rent-free in my brain for too many years. It was a little too late to be the early second season of Hannah Montana, and a little too early to be the third season of Hannah Montana. And it wears a lot on the actors. I really wish they changed up a little bit more, or just jumped to the third season earlier, but hey, there's more episodes, so I'm not complaining. Oh wait, yeah, I guess technically I am. With our first episode, with Bye Bye Ball, episode 21, of Hannah Montana Season 2. So it features the episode Joey Fatone from NSYNC, which is kind of random, and continues the celebrity cameos situation we've always talked about. Jackson spots a wasp, and in order to kill it, he accidentally rips Miley's teddy bear, Barry. So Jackson ends up basically breaking Miley's teddy bear, Barry Bear. They try to ignore the fact that Miley is still too old to have a teddy bear, and she believes in order to make things fair, she's gonna destroy something of his. So she goes to his room, which is the most disgusting place on earth. I mean, look at this place. How in the world does a human being habitate in this house? This is like the most disgusting episode of all Disney Channel ever. I can't believe how many things Jackson has left behind. Like, this guy is disgusting. It adds a new layer of depth to Jackson and a new reputation that I look down on him a lot more after seeing this. Like, this is so irresponsible. She ends up taking his Joey Vitolo signed baseball and decides to destroy it with a cheese grater. Instead, they accidentally throw it into the garbage disposal, only able to save the skin. And she's excited until Jackson comes back with Barry Bear fixed and apologizing. Now Miley's the guilty one, and she tries to fix the Vitolo ball before he could notice. But even Oliver admits that this was probably the rarest item and worth so much money, and that the fact that she broke it is like a super bad situation.
This was a Joey Vitolo? What kind of an animal are you?
Miley decides that maybe she can get his autograph again and make up for the mistake. So she goes to Joey Fatone's restaurant and tries to get him to sign the new ball. Unfortunately, Oliver already revealed that since he got injured in his 5th home run, he refuses to give any autographs, so it's gonna be a lot to go for. So after Joey says no, Miley finds out that his daughter is actually a really big Hannah fan, and he loves his daughter. So she goes back as Hannah Montana and tries to get him to sign it as a fellow celebrity. Instead, he makes her sing in a show with her and makes her dance with him. Basically, he's like holding this over her head and like, I will give you this autograph if you do this and then do this. And it's just a bunch of funny situations of Hannah having to do ridiculous things in this Italian restaurant. Meanwhile, Jackson tries to question Lily and Oliver about what happened to his ball, leading to him pushing them into his closet, which is the biggest torture ever. Like, how gross is this room? We have to go back to this. This is disgusting, Jackson. This is not human living.
It's okay. It's just a closet. What is that?
Jackson shows up to the restaurant and sees Hannah dancing with Vitolo, and he feels super sorry for her because it is atrocious. Like, poor Miley has to deal with this large Italian man forcing her to sing with him. He says he thinks Miley suffered enough for the ball, and Jackson forgives her. Hannah's happy and pushes Vitolo into a cream pie and rolls him on a cart away from them. In the end, Jackson, Miley, and Robby eat at Vitolo's, and she finally gets the ball signed. Robby tells her it was nice to forgive Mr. Vitolo, and then she says she promised Vitolo a dance one last time anyway. She then rips off her normal clothes to reveal that the exact same clothes that Joey Vitolo wears, and then Jackson actually finds out that Robby signed the ball for him, and it was never his autograph to begin with. But this time, he has a real signature, so Miley actually got him a real autograph. Okay, Miley, good for you. This is the first episode where we see Jackson's room, and not happy about it, I'll tell you guys that much. In this episode, actually, we see Jackson using a Game Boy, which is so funny because I feel like we don't usually point to the culture. It's also kind of random because Nintendo DS was kind of the more popular thing at the time. I don't know why he has a Game Boy. Oh, probably because the actor playing Jackson is like 32, 33 here. But actually, I find that kind of interesting. Jackson's line, "a Timberlake mask couldn't make you look good," is a reference to Joey Vitolo's actor, who actually was with Justin Timberlake in NSYNC. Overall, this is like a really fun episode. I love that we get another celebrity guest star, but they're not like taking the entire plot. It's more of a Miley versus Jackson episode, which I happen to love. I think these guys' dynamic is really opposing and one of the most authentic things in the Disney Channel shows. Like, the brother and sister relationship is just so gross and authentic to who they are, and I don't know, I just think they're really good at playing this off. Although, we can never stop talking about how bad Jackson's room is. I cannot get over it. I never want to watch this episode again, just for the fact that every time we enter his room, I get a little bit more sad. Speaking of sadness, that brings us to episode 22. So up until now, we've always had this long-running gag about Uncle Earl, like Uncle Earl did this, Uncle Earl did that, and it's a really funny ongoing bit that never had to be carried out until today. Another guest star, but this guy's not a super famous guest star, but he's a really funny guy. He was on The Office. He was in a lot of animated films as main characters. You guys would definitely know him. David Koechner. We also get an appearance from Gilbert Gottfried. It seems like the celebrity cameos are just never going to end. Okay, we start out with Jackson raging at the TV because another Hannah Montana song is playing, which is super meta for no reason.
When is this not on?
He's interrupted by Barney Bittman, who is a famous critic. Oliver and Lily are super excited, but Miley is like, ugh, I don't like critics. He mentions that he's going to be reviewing Hannah Montana soon, and Miley quickly turns around and starts caring about his approval, especially since in this fake show. Miley's pretty much worried that she's going to trash Hannah just as much as she did Michaela, so she tries to fake a cold, but obviously Robby Ray is like, don't let this get to you, it's just a critic. Jackson makes a really good impression of Barney Bittman.
What did that poor state ever do to you?
Miley is determined to give the best performance of her life. She doesn't want any distractions. She doesn't want to be blown apart. And of course, we have Uncle Earl's first appearance right here, right now. Uncle Earl is super pumped to hang out with the family and even comes in
Ran over this in Texas. Who wants to grill it up?
with roadkill, hoping to eat it. He brings his pet pig Cuddles and compliments the family on their larger-than-life lifestyle. Already, Uncle Earl is as weird as we expected. Miley's concerned about focusing on her concert with their uncle being there, but Robby Ray just says not to worry about it.
If I know Earl, all he's going to want to do is run around to Hollywood with a map of the stars home and play celebrity ding-dong ditch.
There's a lot of really funny references to them as children, which is always fun because it's partly a joke, partly lore. It must be the first time Uncle Earl is visiting them because Robby suggests to go to the Hollywood sign, but he says that he's on a mission here and he wants to become a rock star, just like Miley. Uncle Earl picks up one of Robby's electric guitars and turns out to be one of the worst guitar players ever. Even Lily and Oliver cannot hear afterward.
Never heard anything like it before.
And I may never hear anything ever again. Like that. Because it was special.
It's so funny that this adult man is like trying to have the dream that this teenager is living. It's very topical for 2025. Miley tries to discourage him by saying she's going to be rehearsing all the time, but he's super excited about that. At the rehearsal for the Barney Bittman show, our Uncle Earl makes a complete fool of himself during Rockstar, which is one of my favorite songs, and Hannah is immediately more and more stressed. Robby tries to stop him, but he's acting like a child and he just wants to play.
Come on, Robby Ray. I done seen the lighting booth, the sound booth, the dressing room. I just want to watch one song real close up, please.
Already, this guy is such a natural at kids show acting. I mean, like, he's good in The Office, he's good at so many things, and he fits in so well in this world. And Miley plays off of him really good, too. It's like a typical sitcom, like wacky character and straight person. Robby calls Hannah Miley in front of the entire band, so I guess the entire band knows her secret, too. It's clear the director in this scene didn't think about who knew and who didn't know Hannah's secret.
Miley continues to freak out because Uncle Earl is going to ruin the entire show.
He even injures the guitar player, which means somebody needs to replace the guitar player, and I guess you can pretty much figure out how this is gonna go.
Everybody has them days.
Are you sure you can't play with your feet?
She walks out to find Uncle Earl on the phone with their Aunt Pearl, super excited that he's gonna live his dream and getting all emotional. Miley obviously feels worse. We get to the final show and Miley has stuck to her decision to let Uncle Earl go. She still has a little bit of reservations and tries to give him more notes before they go on stage, but essentially you've signed your death wish, Hannah. In order to combat this issue, Jackson dresses up as Ozzy Osbourne in another attempt to drive him away from this issue.
What are you doing at a Hannah Montana concert?
Oh, is that where I am?
It goes horribly wrong and pretty much pulls off his wig, which is a kind of controversial move. Like, imagine if this actually was Ozzy Osbourne. That would be so disrespectful.
Enjoy the show.
Miley and Robby then decide that it's going to be too much and Uncle Earl should not go on with them. It's really nice to see that this isn't only Miley's problem, but it's also Robby's. Like, I love that it's kind of like a dual character moment. In a last-minute effort, no surprise, Miley sees him sat on the side of the stage and asks him to join her on stage. This is like the most stereotypical 2000s thing. It's like, oh, we're not getting along, but let me invite you on stage so we can make up. Honestly, if somebody invited me on stage and I was like in a bad mood, I definitely wouldn't be so enthusiastic. By the end, Miley chooses family over fame. She rocks out with Uncle Earl on stage, and it's so rewarding given all the jokes we've been having about him throughout the seasons, and it's a nice character arc for Miley, even though she consistently needs to learn the same lessons over and over again. And there's this last moment where Uncle Earl can't actually sit up from the bench, so Miley helps him and she drops him, and I swear when this came out, I thought he died. I thought this was a big moment. Why did we only see Miley when he fell? Like, this is concerning. And then of course we go back to just them sitting on the couch, so obviously the audience is freaking out and the cast just doesn't really care. We're trying to hear if Uncle Earl is alive or not, but it's clear that wasn't really that big of a deal, and I guess was worried for nothing. This next episode was one that was always like really near and dear to my heart because I remember a lot of the promos for it. This is the one Hannah Montana episode that like really went off tone for what the show established itself to be.
Obviously they met or we wouldn't even be here.
Jackson?
It's supposed to be this grounded TV show about a teenage girl living a pop star life, but I swear this one is one of those episodes that just completely go off the rails. I mean, we saw something like this in the Make-A-Wish one, where Miley wished to the sky that she was never Hannah Montana, or her secret was never a secret, and that was like the only other time we had like unrealistic standards for what was going on in an episode, and we get another one of those this season. In the way we almost weren't. Her, Robby Ray, Jackson, they're all like living the tour life in this. And it's funny because it translates really well, like the bumpy road, or makes it easier for her to brush her teeth. Although it seems like they're all starting to get sick of each other because of how confined this space is.
Now, I don't want to hear it. We're going to stop and smell the dang roses, and you're going to like it. So clean up your faces, get off this bus, and start sniffing.
In the promo for this episode, it was about like Miley seeing her parents about to get back together, but they keep disappearing. And I used to think that this was going to be a really crazy episode. And even though it was just a one part, like I knew I was in for something interesting. Miley has to get back to town soon, so there's a little bit of a rush, making the thunderstorm a lot more threatening. Robby has had it with their spoiled attitudes and decides to go out to the nearest diner to get a drink, abandoning his children. In another attempt to get his kids to be grateful, Robby Ray puts his foot down and is like, we're going to eat at this restaurant. He drags them to the restaurant, and it's only like an old lady waitress and a rundown shop. Robby insists that he's going to take his time and he's going to enjoy it, even if they don't. Meanwhile, in the B-plot, we have something really uninteresting. It's Oliver and Lily getting stuck to chairs and not being able to get out of it, and they even get stuck on each other's chairs. This is not a plot compared to what's going on. As Miley is about to get Robby Ray to head out, she gets struck by lightning and falls backwards.
Are you okay?
Next time, you're going first.
Suddenly, they go back into the diner, and it's this really nice, up-to-date restaurant, unlike what it was a couple minutes ago. The waiters are young, the ambiance is pumping, and Robby Ray has a mullet? What's even really weird is that Brooke Shields is in this episode. It's cool that she appeared twice and is finally back to reprise her role as Miley's mom. There's not a lot of moments where we get to see them actually interact, but this is one of them in real time.
Like totally lost and kind of in a hurry. Which way back to Highway 10?
Egyptian.
Not just a flashback, not just a video about the flashback. It's happening right here. The siblings realize that they must have gone back in time and she was struck by lightning, and they think that they're in just this simulation type thing where they get to watch their parents meet. But it turns out that the parents don't even like each other, as the mom is a distracted waitress and the dad is a know-it-all pop star. Kind of like what he was complaining that Miley was. Miley and Jackson dismiss this, thinking that this is just how it was supposed to be, until Jackson starts to disappear. Suddenly they realize that they're playing a bigger part in this, and that their family might not be coming together in the way that they thought it would. Almost like this idea that things don't necessarily happen naturally, or like when you're not playing a role in life, things just go wrong. I don't know, it feels like an episode about accountability. Time goes by, Miley and Jackson are still at the restaurant, and Jackson's trying to hide up his disappearance. Have you ever been insecure that you're going to disappear? Yeah, me too. Jackson tries to talk to his dad, but he's really immature, and it's really funny to see them interact this way.
Don't break my heart, my itchy twitchy heart.
Miley and her mom don't get along either, which is really interesting because, not only are they interacting for the first time, but they're arguing. They start to take a more active role in being like, okay, maybe we should try to get our parents together or else you're gonna fully disappear. And then things take a really dark turn when Jackson fully disappears. Miley runs out of ideas, so she's just like, oh my god, screw it. She falls onto the floor and tries to create a giant scene.
Somebody help me. Not you.
And in this little act, they finally look into each other's eyes and fall in love. It's interrupted when Miley wakes up again on the trailer floor with Jackson nudging her, so it turns out the entire thing was a dream. Miley realizes that they need to be grateful and look around and smell the roses just like their dad said, and go back into the diner to hear the story of how her parents met. We get to know a little bit more about the Stewart family, only to be interrupted again by this B-plot. I mean, I don't want to see Oliver and Lily getting into sketch-like hijinks just from sitting on a chair. It's getting a little tiring. And why did they end up going to the Stewart's house? Like, they shouldn't have keys there. In the end, I don't even think they, get out of the chairs. I think they just keep falling. And the episode goes unresolved. I mean, at least the A-plot was really interesting to make up for the fact the B-plot was a little less climactic.
See, the way we almost weren't is surprisingly similar to the Wizards of Waverly Place movie, and this one came first. I definitely think the Wizards of Waverly Place movie is a definitive edition of this, because clearly they had an hour and a half to do a plot line just like this, so there's a lot more emotional depth and an incredible way of going into it, although I do think Hannah Montana technically did it first, even if they didn't do it better. But that's just worth noting. I don't think we need to get into that super much.
Episode 24, You Didn't Say It Was Your Birthday. It's a play on the lyrics of the song by the Beatles called Birthday, and it says, You Say It's Your Birthday is the song's opening lyrics. So one morning, Miley wakes up and goes down to eat, but she realizes that Robby didn't make scrambled eggs for her, so she asks Jackson, who knows that Robby didn't make them both breakfasts. Something suspicious, like why is Robby acting this way?
What's the matter? Your blow dryer's on the fritz?
Oh no, I know what it is, Daddy. You had a dream that I was the only child, and you woke up to that.
Jackson ends up having a flashback about yesterday, how Miley flatters herself as Hannah.
Even though it'll make me late for my date, I'll be happy to drive her. You do so much. It would be a privilege to ease your burden in any way that I can.
But she's like, this did not actually happen that way. And she retells the story where Jackson flatters himself.
You do it. It'll fill that empty void you call your life.
Please, drive me just this once. You don't even have to stop. Just slow down and I'll tuck and roll.
And both of them pretty much try to take advantage of Robby. Either way, one of you guys disrespected him, okay? So give it up. Meanwhile, Lily and Oliver find a chip that looks like Darth Vader. Oh, these B-plots, guys. People around them start getting really interested in it and start bidding to buy the chip. I don't know why this would make it such a valuable piece of art, but whatever. Meanwhile, Miley and Jackson are still trying to figure out what's going on with Robby Ray. And, guys, another episode with the siblings versus Robby Ray. I mean, it's one thing to have them, every few episodes, but back to back, I just watched you guys disappear for, 15 minutes. Like, you guys did all you can do with these plots. Could we please take a break from this? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure this is going to be a good one. But it turns out that neither her or Jackson's theories are correct. He is sad for another reason.
If it wasn't how you acted.
It's not how you acted.
And he ain't gonna tell us anything.
Then what was it?
They see that they actually forgot Robbie's 40th birthday. Whoa, guys. Big deal this time. That was sarcastic. Robbie's always mad at them. Miley and Jackson prepare for a surprise party, but she has to go to a CD signing somehow at the same time. Ugh, Miley just never has it easy, huh? So one by one, the fans come up for a signature, and she has to get through all of these autographs in time to have a surprise party. Robbie keeps dropping the hints that the number 40 is super important. And both the siblings know what he's talking about now, but it's funny. They continue to pretend like they don't. When they actually finally get the party together, it's really depressing because it turns out the entire Stewart family forgot about Robbie's birthday. Like, it wasn't just Miley and Jackson's.
No, we didn't forget. Tonight? No, we didn't forget. Okay, so we forgot. Your Christmas lights are still up. Who are you to judge? So are you coming? Hello?
Jackson has to invite the delivery guy, the gas station waitress, and a balloon blower, and a small band who calls themselves the Aristocats. Robbie is super surprised when he sees the party, and at first he seems to be frustrated, but we later find out that he's actually super happy about it, and he appreciated the effort. I guess Miley and Jackson actually were able to make up for the fact that they forgot his birthday. And he accepts their apology. Story ends with Jackson giving Robbie a free dessert coupon, and they all have a group hug. In the B-plot, Rico tries to set out a big offer for this Darth Vader-shaped chip. Yeah, we forgot that was happening. When Rico puts it under the microscope, it turns out that all the chips look like countries or characters that belong to Rico, so he has to have the chip. But they end up running away instead. In the end, Rico's chasing Lily and Oliver over the chip, but then finally a dog eats the chip. Lily, Oliver, and Rico end the episode chasing each other with the tune of Yakety Sax, which is the same end-running theme of the classic 60s, 70s, and 80s TV show, The Benny Hill Show. Random reference. I didn't notice until I looked this up, but when Rico enters the beach sounding like Darth Vader from his point of view, you could see to the left side of the screen that Brandy Cyrus is actually in this. This is one of the very few episodes in which Lily and Miley don't interact with each other like at all. This episode also reveals that Robby Ray was born in 1968, meaning that he was 20 years old when he met Miley's mother. And we learn that Lily's dad is an accountant. Well, we don't see him yet, and I'm excited to because I love John Cryer. Hannah in the Street with Diamonds is a parody title on the song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which is a really impressive title change. I think this is one of my favorites over the entire show. Season 2, episode 25. We're about to surpass the first season of 26 episodes, and this show is already wearing a little bit. I definitely think 30 episodes is overstaying your welcome for a season, but kids shows, I guess, are different. So Miley, Oliver, and Lily are checking out the Hollywood stars and take a picture outside of Madonna. Miley's excited because finally she's gotten a star for Hannah Montana on the Walk of Fame. She's disappointed to find out that it happens to be under a hot dog stand. They meet a hot dog guy that is slinging hot dogs on top of Hannah's star and refuses to move, essentially. Miley is insistent that she is not a diva, but when people start actually spitting on the star, she starts to have a problem, which I would too. This is completely fair in this scenario. Like, Miley's not being a diva. Miley has a talk with Robby Ray, who has insight because obviously he's been a celebrity too, so that's kind of a cool backstory. He says not to worry about it because it's just a star, but then when Miley asks him to switch with him, he's basically like, no, I like my spot. Meanwhile, in the B-plot, Jackson can't get to work because his car breaks down, and I don't recognize this car super well. I guess he just has a different car every few episodes. And Rico has no sympathy. Robby Ray shows up to take over Jackson's role for the day, and already this episode's off to a fun start. Meanwhile, Miley is trying to get her star changed, so she meets up with one of the guys who does it, I guess. Mr. Garrison. Apparently she was going to have a completely different spot, but this guy switched it to make room for Pancake Buffalo, which is one of his childhood favorite. He even has a giant mural in his office. Hannah decides she's gonna go talk to this one. Meanwhile, Robbie can't handle being an employee even though his hair is literally getting in the food. I don't know whose side I'm on at this point. And this plot is just about him having to wear a hairnet. But I do like that an adult man is being bossed around by Rico. Like, he's literally so small. So to see him be so authoritative is funny. Jackson eventually returns, and it turns out that Robby actually glued him to the bottom of the surfer shop. Oh my gosh, you can't do that, Robby.
Oh, Rico!
Miley shows up on Pancake Buffalo's set to actually meet the puppeteer and try to get her spot back. Even Lily and Oliver know who Pancake Buffalo is, so I guess this is just a world-renowned thing in there. The puppeteer playing him is a really sweet old lady, but refuses to talk to her outside of Pancake Buffalo after a second.
No, you don't need to use your angry voice.
You know, she's always had a problem with that.
Zip it.
Anytime she has to discuss her star, she has to talk to Pancake Buffalo, which is the puppet. This puppet has got a lot of sass and energy, and I hope he becomes a recurring character on the show.
There's no sitting down here. Now let me hear that happy voice. Okay.
She goes back to Mr. Garrison to express her disbelief in this puppet, but he's on her side, of course. Meanwhile, Pancake Buffalo's getting ready for his ceremony on the Walk of Fame, and he gives Mr. Garrison one last show, and this guy just dances like a kid. I mean, this is kind of how I am with old kid shows. We see Oliver dressed as a cop and are aware that something's about to go down. They distract Mr. Garrison as Lily comes with a strudel cart, distracting the puppeteer long enough for Miley to step in for Pancake Buffalo and try to ruin his reputation. Oh my gosh, I can't believe Miley's actually good at being a puppet so far. This is funny. She trashes Mr. Garrison publicly and even bites his nose. But of course it's too late. The puppeteer comes back and Mr. Garrison realizes that it's not her.
Pancake?
Miley comes to terms with the fact that she's not going to get the spot she wants, but it doesn't matter because her fans appreciate it, which is a really sweet ending. And she gets one small final win as a porta potty lands on Pancake Buffalo's star, which is kind of worse than Hannah's. And there's a little funny moment where we're watching Pancake Buffalo trash everybody that's walking by him, and it's kind of funny. Did you know that actually Robby Ray and Rico technically meet for the first time? I mean, they've been mentioned a lot. Their plots can somewhat overlap, but this is the first time Robby Ray and Rico actually meet, and it's funny because Robby Ray does not have a tolerance for this kid, which is definitely in tune with his diva-like persona that comes out of Robby every now and then. I wish they touched upon that in the movie a little bit. It seems a little unfair that Miley is judged super heavily for being a diva in the movie, but then suddenly he could act out whichever way he wants. Then we have episode 26, Yet Another Side of Me. Hannah's meeting with her stylist, Dollyana, which is cool because we don't usually see her have a relationship with a stylist so far. And she's basically like, I love my new outfit, it's awesome. Even though it's been 26 episodes and she's really just worn different styles of glitter. Perhaps you guys change your wig or do something in time for the next season. And Dollyana was buttering her up. He's like, you're my favorite client and everything, until one other client walks in. Dollyana claps and all of the Hannah stuff is replaced with this girl. I guess her name's Ice and she's kind of like a Madonna ripoff, because I guess she's a little more famous and we kind of feel bad now. Hannah has like an interaction with this famous girl, and it's kind of different than her relationship with Dolly, which is interesting because that's her celebrity connection. But seeing her starstruck for another star is very cute. Turns out that this woman is a little bit more snotty than we think and makes fun of her.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
I wasn't. Until now.
Which I imagine the actual entertainment industry doing more of. She explains to Miley that her fans are not going to be interested in her for long unless she changes and adapts, which is kind of relevant for being episode 26 of season 2. It's so funny because she is inevitably going to change in 4 episodes from now, so just the fact that even if this episode ends that way, it's not going to stick. Or she's going to inevitably follow this rule anyway, so what's the point? I like that she cares a lot about this girl's approval. And this woman's not really famous, so I don't know what the point is. Maybe because they didn't want an actual celebrity to trash Miley in this episode, that would kind of make them look bad. Hannah comes back sad to Robby Ray, basically saying that like she knows she's going to become irrelevant very soon, which is definitely an accurate trail of the media landscape. 2 back-to-back episodes about Hannah embracing the diva-ness of having a Hannah persona and like trying to figure out what is a battle worth fighting for. Robby tries to be comforting, but just like the last episode with Pancake, He seems to care about being a celebrity too much. I don't know what the side is of him. He's been way too into it lately. Meanwhile, Jackson goes on a date with Tawny from Sunny with a Chance. Is this a crossover episode? No, because she's a different character with a different name. But then again, Sunny with a Chance didn't come for a couple years, I don't think. Rico basically embarrasses Jackson in front of her, but she thinks it's super funny. Jackson reveals to Rico that he actually needs a raise. Rico agrees to it pretty quickly, as long as Jackson barks every time somebody says the word dog, which seems like a really simple thing, but it obviously becomes taken way too seriously by Rico. This muscular man at the beach questions Jackson immediately, and Jackson can only bark in response. I don't know how Rico could have planned this, but it's really funny.
You calling my girlfriend a dog? Woof. Oh, that's it! You're dog meat!
Miley fantasizes about what other options she has as Hannah Montana. We see Miley in a black void as different caricatures of what Hannah Montana could be.
Don't like it? Well, I don't really care, because I'm $half Hannah and I got facial hair. Word.
I think Drag King is in. Then we see Miley in a black void, even with the yellow pot on her head. It just seems like she's some kind of mime, and it's all kind of disturbing. I think this is going to be in my nightmare soon. Hannah is depressed because, of course, the woman who gave her the advice is the queen of pop, so if she doesn't listen, she is going to become irrelevant. That's when Miley finally settles she wants to be a rock, heavy metal version of Hannah. Her friends and family are super surprised and try to be supportive, but really, it's not a good look for her. Miley essentially tells them she doesn't have a choice. She has to do something.
We hate her. Why?
She scares us.
Despite the fact that her friends are straightforward scared of her as that. In the B-plot, Jackson calls out Rico for bullying people all the time. Like, how does he not have any friends? And he says that he's friends with his brother, Mateo, but it turns out Mateo doesn't even like him. It ends in a sweet moment where Rico and Jackson realize that they actually are friends because most of their interactions are together. I don't know if that's what qualifies as a friendship, but sure, you guys can use this, I guess.
You want to go back to my house and pay my brother to dance like a monkey?
Miley argues with Robby Ray's old figurine, which is funny because, of course, he's a celebrity. He gets his own figurine. In a dream with a CGI building that kind of looks like the Tipton, Miley shows up as a Hannah Montana in a red wig and gives her heavy metal side. A Girl Scout troop. Turns out all the Girl Scouts actually love it and follow exactly in her footsteps and start wrecking the entire place. Imagine Mike and Lola having to adjust to this new persona. Like, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna be like emo anime type characters? I'm actually curious to see them as Miley supporters just as much as I want to see the heavy metal Hannah. Miley realizes her influence and her impact on the fans, and Robby's taken on a stick out of the room. This sequence is so funny, one of the funniest moments in all of Hannah Montana, because it's just like, of course this would happen. Miley wakes up from the dream, and thank God she does not have to suffer the consequences. Robby has a talk with her and says that her fans will always be there as long as she's herself, which, I'm sorry, Robby, that's not how the technology age works. Miley finally concedes and decides to stay herself. With one last visit to her stylist, she learns that Ice is actually dressed up as her. I guess that's her next new thing, which is funny because it means that Miley already was the new thing. So that's a perfect reflection of how an older generation person tries to bash a mentee. I wish we got to see more of this girl throughout the episode because it's kind of cool how she is like an antagonist to Miley despite the fact that she's like an elder. Like if Dolly was like this, that would be such a different story, but thank God she's not. That would be terrifying. Yet another side of me kind of reminds me of Miley's Can't Be Tamed era, or even Wrecking Ball. You know, like this is exactly what mirrored reality. Really took on this persona where she was defying the social norms of what a pop star was, and I think it's super iconic. And even though at the time people were kind of critical to her about it, I feel like this episode's a good, answer to that question. Like this episode really shows that like she cares about the fans, and that's kind of what mattered in the long run. And, through her career choices, I definitely think she did the right thing. Since we're not talking about too much pop culture things, we're not going to get into it a lot, but it is really cool that every event that happened in Hannah Montana kind of mirrors Miley Cyrus's real life. As these are scenarios she's spent a lot of time in and got time to understand and think about, and it's really cool that we actually get to see that in the show. Like, that's the bigger impact of this show, and probably why it's lasted so long, because it is so much more relevant than we all give it credit for. Next we have The Test of My Love, which is the 27th episode of season 2. This is where the episodes get a little random. It's more of a Miley dating episode than a Hannah episode. But I guess it does come up. This is definitely one of the forgettable episodes for me, if I'm being honest. I don't remember a lot of what went down in this, maybe because it doesn't tie into the main premise super well. Not like it's bad, it's just off. It could be done in any Disney Channel show.
What if it turns out that he's the one? At your wedding, I'll be able to say that I was standing right next to you when you completely ignored me and walked away.
There's a wealthy, snobby couple that are donating $250,000 to build a playground. While listening to them, Miley falls head over heels for this teenage boy named Trey. When Miley's like trashing the parents for being snobby and rich, Trey reveals that he's actually their son. And he is also filthy rich. Lily is super into the relationship, and it's not just like a normal crush, it seems like she wants to get married to this guy. Which makes sense because he's blonde and looks like Jake Ryan a little bit. Which is enough for her, I guess. We come back to Miley admiring the sand that Trey was standing on, which this is kind of going a little far for her. Miley gets a call from Tracy once again, and I like that she has like a fake friend. Like it's very infamous to have a fake friend, especially if you're a celebrity, I guess. She tells her about her Putt Putt for Puppies charity event.
What did she want? To make sure I was wearing mauve. What? Mauve. What? Purple!
When she's making fun of Tracy, she is surprised by Trey, who actually comes back to the beach looking for her. She's embarrassed, so he tries to make her feel better by wearing a watermelon from the trash can on his head. This is not a move, Trey. I don't know why you thought this would work. Trey asks her out officially and says that he wants her to meet his parents. Then we have a short, I'm not even sure if this is a B-plot, but a bunch of people that Robby hired to clean Jackson's room will just simply not do it because it is so toxic it could kill people. Yeah, I told you guys a couple episodes that Jackson's room is just downright disturbing. And Jackson enters, clearly the owner of the room, and does not know how to clean up after himself. Robby gets mad, saying like, this is enough, like you have to clean your room, but Jackson does not see an issue with this. I love that Jackson's room becomes a recurring character, like it's not even just one episode, it's like he genuinely has to clean it at this point.
And putting them in the closet where they belong.
No, Dad, I wouldn't do that.
What if we just stuck together all the separate plots that had to do with Jackson's room and we made it seem like it was a feature film about Jackson having to get over his room's dirtiness? I don't know, that would be kind of funny to me. Miley prepares for her date with Trey by acting all pretentious and getting into a really classy outfit. English inspired, and I don't know how this would impress the parents. So she goes on a date. Lily convinces her to go as herself and that like maybe the parents will like her. Sure, everything will work out. But uh-oh, turns out on the date, the parents are as pretentious as she thought, and call her like a hillbilly.
They call it sweetbreads.
Doesn't taste like bread.
That's because it's cow pancreas.
They talk down to her as if she's like a peasant just because she doesn't have as much money as them, and it's kind of really insulting, especially because Miley has the secret of being a little bit more classy than she comes across. It's sad though because it's like they're basically asking her to pull in order to be accepted, and this is like one of the moments where Miley just straightforward denies it the entire time, and I like that. I like that she really stands up for her heritage. She accidentally tells them that her parents are rich or that she lives a rich lifestyle. Trey's parents insist they want to see her house right now, which I wouldn't accept, guys. I would just say, don't, no, you're not coming over. Miley calls Robby and Jackson, who are actually in the middle of cleaning his disgusting room, so there's no worse time to actually have this event. But luckily, just in time, Miley brings over the parents, and Jackson and Robby are all done up, ready to impress them. They act snotty and funny, and this part is just, this is just really funny because we know who they actually are, and seeing them try to be super different is really cool.
Sweet niplets.
Especially Jackson, knowing he just walked in with stuff on his face, and the accents they put on are so cringe. They end up pushing the parents to the limit, and they see through the facade. Miley gives one little speech about how she doesn't care what they think. She tries to say something good about Jackson, and she can, and this is just one of the funniest moments in this entire season.
And my brother, let me just tell you, my brother.
What are you gonna do? Can't pick your family.
Surprisingly, Trey actually stands up for Miley and agrees with her that his parents are snotty and they're tired of it. The parents leave in a huff through the back door, only to be surprised that all the stuff from Jackson's room were piled up behind it. They collapse under the clothes and all is well. Trey ends up having dinner with the family in a really realistic setting, and they all get along really well. I don't understand why we never see Trey again after this episode. It's also interesting because this is an episode where Miley almost exposed her secret to Trey and his parents, which is crazy because it's like Miley doesn't have a lot of slip-ups, but the fact that this is like bothers her so much that she's almost going to accidentally reveal her like lifetime secret, like that's crazy. I like how the B plot actually coincides with the A plot, like the fact that Jackson's room was a mess didn't actually ruin the rest of it, but you know.
Now we have episode 28 of season 2 of Hannah Montana, Joni Be Good. Its title is a reference to the song Johnny Be Good by Chuck Berry.
Okay, so we start off on Miley dreamily listening to this audiobook that Lily also has seen to show how romantic the two girls can think. They're interrupted by Joni, who's walking by and makes fun of them. You remember Joni, she's like kind of the school bully. She's been around since the second season. I mean, this season has been kind of like an antagonist for the girls. A love story happens right in front of them. Yeah, it seems like Joni drops her book and Oliver helps pick them up right after she bullies the girls. I always had fun with this episode because it is a funny concept that your best friend is dating your bully, I guess. I mean, how often does this happen in kid shows? I know there's like times where it's like you don't like the significant other that's being dated, but can you imagine the bully? Suddenly Oliver is in love with her, and Lily talks about how Joni has bullied her whole life, which is weird because why didn't she come up in the first season at all? It's really cute because we see an exact replica of one of Lily's first season outfits in this flashback. And this little girl who's been in a lot of Disney Channel shows is also there.
I love my kite. I love my kite. I love my kite.
They basically tell Oliver he's crazy, but it's clear that he's smitten. Meanwhile, in the B plot, Jackson falls for a new girl that comes by the surf shop, and it seems like they have a really good connection until Rico reveals that it is his sister. Meanwhile, Lily and Miley are talking about how the date probably went, saying hopefully it was awful, hopefully it was terrible. But Joni and Oliver come in already holding hands. Joni is not interested in pretending like she even likes the girls. Oliver talks her down from being angry, which is kind of funny, because they literally went on like one date and they're already like a married couple. Oliver is earnest that he wants his best friends and girlfriend to get along, and when they realize that it's important to him, they decide, yes, we're gonna have a sleepover with Joni and we'll try to get along.
Fine, we'll invite her.
Girl always says say what, say what?
As they get ready for the sleepover, Lily talks about different ways she could scare her, like putting a snake in her sleeping bag, and I'm already concerned. Oliver and Joni come by, getting ready for the sleepover, and Joni is dreading this just as much as the girls are. Miley tries to put on a best face, which is sweet of her. The three girls engage in a really aggressive pillow fight, and it's clear that it's not just about having fun here. Already, this slumber party is off to a devastating start. They disagree over what to watch, making fun of each other's choices, and Joni even trashes Hannah Montana, which is a fair assessment. Oliver watches from the window to make sure everything's going okay, which could seem caring, but I'm a little scared.
Then why aren't you sitting with her?
How do you know that?
Joni and Lily actually start bonding over celebrity gossip, which is funny because Miley was the one that's optimistic about it, and now suddenly Joni and Lily are getting along. Meanwhile, Jackson goes on a date with Rico's sister, and he cannot get Rico out of his mind. Rico even appears on the face of this girl, which is not how siblings work. Let's take a break from this one because it's getting scary. Miley congratulates Lily for getting along with Joni, but Lily admits that it was actually pretty genuine and they had a good time. Joni and Lily are actually really good friends now. Oliver comes in and is super happy, and Joni even tells Oliver that they're gonna have a hockey game, which Miley did not know about. Oh gosh, this is already pretty catty. I was kind of like this at this age, where I would be jealous if my friends were friends with other people. Miley starts having intrusive thoughts about all of her friends getting along without her, which is super fair. And she's determined to make sure that they don't actually get closer to each other, which is kind of dark. Jackson tries to get over his fear of seeing Rico all the time, and he actually mistakes Rico for his sister and dips him trying to kiss him? What the heck is happening in this?
And this is gonna fix everything.
The girl is officially turned off by Jackson, and we all get it. Meanwhile, Miley is trying to fit in with Joni and Lily, so she insists on getting involved in their hockey game. Miley is understandably terrible at hockey, but it's nice to see Lily's old hobbies coming back to play a role in the plot. I feel like in the third season, we almost completely abandoned her sportsman-like attitude, but I don't know. I feel like this is a nice comeback. Lily breaks it to Miley that she stinks at sports, and she learns firsthand as somebody tackles her into the goalie. Miley is incapacitated as Lily and Oliver take care of her and have a conversation with her about why she shouldn't be jealous and she doesn't have to pretend to be different in order to fit in with them. And it's all resolved when they see Joni get hurt just as much as Miley did. I can't tell if Miley learned a lesson here. In the last scene, Jackson hits on another girl but sees Rico on her shoulders. Jackson has some really weird intimacy issues that involve his boss way too much. I mean, it's funny for a kid show because obviously it's not that deep, but it's still kind of crazy. Okay, then we have one of these infamous episodes. We're getting on season 2, episode 29 now. We're all in this date together. So Miley's at a celebrity auction where they're trying to raise money by selling a date with Hannah Montana. There's a really funny bit where Ray Romano is there, and I love Everybody That Loves Raymond, so this is a really funny bit for me. And nobody knows who he is, and then obviously Hannah gets immediately auctioned, and he's like, what the heck is going on? The cold open ends with Corbin Bleu bidding on Hannah. I don't know if you guys remember, but Corbin Bleu is from the first episode of Hannah Montana, and they even have a flashback remembering it, so that way the audience is caught up, which is fair. He was in one episode, how would we know that? But he gets in a bidding war with Rico, who also wants to go on a date with Hannah Montana.
20,000!
I mean, of course, Rico does not know that Miley is Hannah, but, just remember that. Miley has a fantasy about dancing with Corbin Bleu in If We Were a Movie, and it's interrupted by another fantasy with Rico running with her in a grass field and a giant tornado following them. In the end, Corbin Bleu and Rico agree to go on the same date with Miley, who is really angry about this situation. Corbin Bleu's name is Johnny in this, but I'm not going to call him that. There's only one Johnny, and this one is 2000. I can't tell if that was a positive thing, though, now that I said it. In the B-plot, Roxy is worried about meeting an old friend from high school and appearing like she has not been successful. So she apparently told her that she lives in a Malibu house with a husband in hopes that Robby was away this weekend. This is one of the most stereotypical sitcom plot lines, but since it's Roxy, I'm gonna forgive it. One of those characters gets ready for their family reunion and lies about having a better life. Yeah, that is very common. It turns out to be the woman from Abbott Elementary, which is really exciting given the context now. Robby agrees to play along because he feels bad for Roxy, and the plot is kicked off. Meanwhile, Rico is bragging to Miley about how he has a date with Hannah Montana coming. When seeing Lily and Oliver sick, Miley realizes she has the perfect way to get out of the date. So she has Lily and Oliver try to spend too much time with Rico so he can become super sick. This is messed up, Miley. Can you imagine in the COVID era, Miley would go to prison if this were the case. Rico inevitably does end up getting sick and even sells food to the customers with his germs in it. Oh my god, this is gross. So then we cut to the date. Corbin Bleu is getting ready to see Hannah, and Hannah is expecting to go one-on-one. But she's surprised when Rico does inevitably show up as his sick self. The three sit on their sushi date together, which is, I didn't know you could have a minor bid to go on a date with a celebrity. It just feels weird to me. And he sits on her lap for a picture. Guys, this is so uncomfortable. It's always so funny because one of the only people in the theme song that doesn't know she's Miley. So this is really fun to watch. Roxy insists on treating Jackson and Robby like their family, and they actually get into full arguments. Meanwhile, Miley continues to try to get Rico to leave the date looking like a fool in front of Corbin Bleu, Johnny. Her mistreatment even goes so far that Rico is knocked from the bench into the crab tank. He's annoyed, but not as annoyed as Corbin Bleu. Corbin Bleu thinks she's a celebrity jerk and essentially writes her off, which is really fair in this scenario. Miley, you literally bullied this child. Meanwhile, Roxy actually admits to her former friend that this is not her life and she's happy the way she really is. And she doesn't need to have a snotty, rich lifestyle in order to be happy.
Way to go, Clarice. This is why we don't have any friends.
Kicking her old friend out of the house and therefore growing as a character, and thanking Robby for participating, even though it was kind of an inappropriate ask. Oliver and Lily comfort Miley, who is now sick, which is fair. Miley, you kind of deserve that. And Miley runs into Johnny one last time. Corbin Bleu. It's clear that there's still a chance between the two, until she pukes on his feet. And it ends just the way it's supposed to. Although there is one last scene where Jackson pretends to play the piano like he did earlier in the episode with a huge candelabra, and it's the most unnecessary end ever. But it's funny because he pretends to be really good at it, and then when Robby turns off the speaker, it seems like he did it all on his own, but it turns out he just brought a tape recorder.
I just wanted you to love me.
Fun fact, when Miley and Corbin actually sing If We Were a Movie. There is a track on the Hannah Montana 3 album of them singing that song together, and it's actually way better than the original. I definitely advise you guys to check it out. Whew, you see what I mean about these episodes going on for longer and longer? But you know what? That kind of leads us to the finale of Hannah Montana Season 2. This didn't end in a completely comfortable way. Now, sometimes you want to leave seasons with like a really cool cliffhanger or something really intense to happen, and Hannah Montana definitely did that in the 3rd season. No spoilers yet, but in this season, there really was kind of an anticlimactic end. Not only was this like a random episodic episode, it was actually one of the episodes that got pulled, canceled, brought back later into Season 3, so Hannah Montana Season 2 didn't exactly have a conclusive finale like you would hope. In fact, this final episode even was taken off the air. I talk more about it in my other video, but if you haven't seen that yet, I'm probably going to cover it in the exact same way right now, so stay tuned.
Season 2, Episode 30, No Sugar Sugar, and or Uptight, Oliver's Alright, is essentially a forbidden episode that never really got to air. Disney Channel did their best to hide it, but it's here now. Even the fact that it's under 2 names, like Uptight, Oliver's Alright, and No Sugar Sugar, should already be a red flag. Like, why did they need to change the name immediately? So Miley runs to Lily to tell her that somebody is crushing hard, and it's not her, it's Oliver. So then Oliver makes his grand entrance, which is really funny, and they interrogate him to figure out who it is. Oliver admits that there is somebody, but she's not even in their grade. But they still interrogate him anyway. Oliver relents and just heads out. He does not give them an information. Lily and Miley agree that they are still going to try to figure it out. They spy on Oliver when he goes in to talk to a teacher. Immediately, the audience, even the laugh track, is uncomfortable because it's a teacher. Can already tell why this episode isn't working. Miley and Lily are shocked and don't go to the guidance counselor, which I think you guys should do. Miley reminds Lily that she had a crush on the French teacher, so this is not abnormal. And Amber and Ashley even make appearance in this episode. There's a little moment where Miley is defending Lily about how many boyfriends she's had, and this is just really funny.
She's had a ton of boyfriends since then. Okay, fine, 2. And Lucas cheated on her, so that doesn't really count. And the other one she took to court for you. Stop helping me!
In the B plot, Jackson actually got a B, which is funny because it's the B plot. And Robby Ray is super happy, even telling his girlfriend to call him Happy Pappy, which... red flag alert. When Jackson leaves the room, Robby overhears his girlfriend talking about breaking up with him. Oh my god, poor Robby in this scenario. I would be freaking out if it was my father. If my father found out that my girlfriend was breaking up with me before I did, that's gonna be a boundary issue. Robby is emotionally distressed and Jackson tries to comfort him.
Pull it together, old man. It's not like it's the last B I'll ever get.
Wanna bet? Lily and Miley try to find a replacement girl for Oliver to like when they run into Oliver once again. This time, Miley and Lily actually confront the teacher. But when I say Miley confronts someone, I mean she steps in front of them and just basically lies until she gets information. But they do get to the point pretty quickly. The teacher says she wanted it to be a secret, and they continue to think that this is true, that he has a crush on her. Right before the commercial break, we learn it's because he has diabetes, and he's there asking for help. Miley and Lily feel really embarrassed that they found something out about Oliver without him knowing, which this is hitting a new low, and I feel really bad for Oliver because it's like, this is not just a normal secret. This feels like real life, real world secrets as opposed to Hannah Montana's double life. Teacher talks about what it's like to live with diabetes, and I'm pretty sure this is why the episode got rewritten, because they gave out false information. Miley wants to help him, but Miley reads up on diabetes and starts to become obsessed with how she's eating sugar. Robby admits that Miley has definitely kept secrets from him before, quote-unquote Hannah Montana, so this is fair. Then we go back to the funny B plot where the girlfriend is about to break up with Jackson, and Robby interrupts as much as he can because he just wants his son to keep getting good grades. Robby admits that he overheard she's gonna break up with him.
You wanna break up with me?
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a miscommunication. I thought this would be like, oh, she wasn't really going to. Then she thanks Robby Ray. Meanwhile, Jackson has to comfort Robby about his own grades. Miley takes Lily and Oliver, which is Mike and Lola, to a party. They put on this facade that they're still trying to get him a girlfriend. Lily says it's important to just get his mind off of things. I feel like they're portraying diabetes to be like a really bad thing, and I could see why that's an issue. Miley realizes that the party they brought him to is a sugar party. There's candy everywhere. Oh my gosh, I want to go to this party, guys. I cannot get over it. Oh, Tracy's in the episode. I love to see Tracy. It makes me remember that Hannah Montana has a separate life. This is interesting though, because her wig is kind of leaning toward the 3rd season. So Lily and Miley try their best not to tell Oliver that they found out his secret before he was okay with it, and instead start start meddling in his life by stopping him from eating anything that's at the party. Oliver's focusing on talking to girls and doesn't really notice they're acting weird until she starts eating the licorice that's in his hands. Miley and Lily take it way too far, going as far to eating it all and wearing it. Oliver admits he hadn't had anything all night, so he gets a cupcake, only for Miley and Lily to overreact and tackle him. They admit that they found out from the school nurse that he has diabetes. Oliver explains that diabetes isn't that simple, and that he needs a little bit of sugar just like everybody else.
I didn't get to finish that pamphlet because I got ice cream all over it.
Shh, don't say ice cream in front of him.
Sorry.
Guys, I have type 1 diabetes, which means I can't have stuff with sugar in it.
They end the episode with an informational session with the audience where the actors playing the characters actually talk about diabetes, which I don't think this saved them. And then Jackson comes out and his hair is completely cut as if they got ready for season 3 already. And Jackson comes to make a little bit of a joke at the end, which I could also see would be problematic.
And I learned that someday I'm gonna be good looking and I'm gonna inherit a lot of money.
Overall, this episode isn't shockingly bad. It is a little bit of misinformation. The episode was held back until season 3 in order to be refilmed, and it's the last episode that uses the original title sequence. So it was supposed to air on November 2nd, but ended up serving as the finale of season 2, and it was pulled due to complaints of parents that belong to the nonprofit Children with Diabetes. It's an organization that spread awareness after watching a sneak peek of the episode from Disney Channel On Demand. Parents of the organization saw the episode in poor taste and thought it was completely misinformed of its main topic. It aired on Disney Channel in other countries though, but other countries are less sensitive about this stuff. The episode was then reevaluated, and a modified version was aired on September 20th in the US. According to Mitchell Musso, the episode was edited, scenes were reshot, and the episode title was changed to Uptight Oliver's All Right instead of No Sugar Sugar. Oh, okay, so that's the official name. Even though the original take was pulled, the original episode aired during a rerun block of the show on the American Disney Channel once, which is most likely a programming error. Thanks to the Hannah Montana wiki, we actually have a good tracking of everything that was changed. In No Sugar Sugar, Oliver seems to have type 2 diabetes, and Uptight Oliver is all right. He explicitly mentions he has type 1 diabetes. The two types can occur in teenagers, but it is very rare, hence the change. While two types are possible to occur in teenagers, it is very rare, which is why they changed it to that. There's a scene where Oliver jumps in the trash can to seek for candy, but they actually took that out. One of the continuity errors, though, was that Miley and Lily suspected that Oliver had a crush on the school nurse, but he already began dating Joni 2 episodes earlier, so this wouldn't have made sense. Miley, Lily, and Oliver actually look significantly older at Tracy's birthday party, and it's kind of obvious. Tracy's complaining about Hannah and Lola's craving for sugar at the party is different in both versions. In No Sugar Sugar, she got chocolate poured on her and ran off crying, saying, "I'm so done with sweet 16s. And then in the new version, Uptight Oliver's All Right, she complained to the leaving guests that she had enough food to feed 2 whales. Okay, that's a subtle change. In No Sugar Sugar, Lola visibly gets stomach issues after eating too much candy at Tracy's birthday party. But in the final version, it just had them being bloated. At the end, in No Sugar Sugar, Oliver raps about growing to accept his diabetes, but in Uptight Oliver's All Right, Miley, Lily, and Oliver state what they learned about diabetes, then Jackson barges in, boasting about his future. This episode is actually not available to watch on Disney+. Overall, I could definitely believe why the US reacted the way it did, especially the diabetes nonprofit, and it's nice that they attempted to refix it, but it just seemed like a lost cause at this point. I don't think they should have scrapped the episode, but even having Oliver have a crush on the teacher seems a little bit out there. All around, this episode just seems to have had bad luck around it. I'm glad it still exists somewhere, but I don't think it was 100% necessary. But if you do like Hannah Montana, I do recommend you look into it.
Overall, the complete second season of Hannah Montana really defined its entire personality. Like, season 1 was about kind of getting to know the characters and everything getting into place, but now we're really delving into Miley's double life. And I'm happy we had this season to kind of go over everything, but I do feel like Season 3 is when we get into the nitty-gritty of the plots, and a lot more of the emotional depth ends because of everything that's happened thus far. So it's definitely relevant. We're on episode 56, and it's probably getting to peak Hannah Montana, I would say. But these are the episodes we all remember super well. Now, when we get to Season 3 and 4, it's not the ones we remember super well, but definitely you're going to want to remember them because they get so much better from here on out. There's about roughly 43 episodes to finish off the entire series, so we're more than halfway, but we're definitely going to take our time a lot more because these ones are just so much more impactful. We got to meet celebrities, we got to really have fun in the second season, But now we're gonna have some serious fun. And not only that, this is the season where the Hannah Montana movie gets intertwined. Now, there's a lot of theories about when it takes place in the actual chronology of the show, and that's what's going to be fun to jump into as well. So I hope you guys are ready, because there's another video coming up soon. Now, this is Johnny2000. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, because this is only the beginning of these episodes. Have a great day!